Yeah, I still like to choose that. On the seat right there where y'all supposed to sit. Yeah. Yeah, those are your seats right there, the first two rows, but then just make sure you're sitting in alphabetical order. So maybe like Kaylee right there on that first one, and then yeah. Sarah, Grant, Maddie, yeah. Yep. For the one going upward, we're gonna sit in a set order. You know, that's where Kate said, and then you would just, just follow around.
Are you doing like, as it continues going this way, and then you like the queen's going to try, just continue, yeah, just continue up here, yeah, that's okay. That is funny. Bailey, you are like right here.
You're on the ninth seat.
Oh, so you're trying this way.
Yeah. And there's one.
So it's scary. Then there's Mickey.
Oh, this is the first row.
And there's Joe. Then there's this cave. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Mackenzie starts here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice that they did it.
It's rice. And then. Right there, and then after the first program.
I'll say, they don't, they're in their chairs. We didn't.
Here, and then that one.
Oh, yeah, that's what they have the right.
You too could be over here for. You won't, I mean, we don't know.
And we ran through. Oh, no, I'll go ahead.
Okay, so she can go. So it used to be boom, boom, then she go boom, boom, boom.
It feels like forever since I've gotten home. Oh, y'all have.
Okay.
No,
Yes, I'm not ready for a holiday. Yeah.
Oh.
Amazon keeps coming to my house and I was paying for it. But they keep coming to it. Really? Right, that's what I do. I just, so I don't know. And then.
So this is my hazard. I need to remember that.
Okay, we still have those bad. You know, right, no, I don't know. Right, I'm trying to get the right kind of. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, yeah, but as a. Ball dollars.
Good afternoon and welcome. Can you feel the excitement in the air? Yeah. Of course, we've got that excitement for multiple reasons. Getting finished with exams, getting ready for the holidays, and now the clinical frontier. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge our Dean of Applied Health Sciences, Dr. Bowe, and our Provost, Dr. Minette, and thank them for coming to help us celebrate you guys going to your next stage of this OT journey that you are pursuing. For today, our keynote speaker is Chris Matthews. He is actually a Pfeiffer University alumni and has had some interesting, fascinating experiences. And we are looking forward to him sharing that with you. So I'm going to ask him to please come up and speak to you guys. Thank you.
It's an honor to stand in front of you and share and celebrating this major accomplishment along your professional journey. When I was offered the opportunity to speak today, I thought long and hard about a message that would provide value and inspiration. As a marriage and family therapist who specializes in working with relationships and an alumnus of this university, I felt that it would be fitting to share with you a message I titled, Managing the 5 Relationships of Servant Leadership. Pfeiffer students have built a reputation as servant leaders across a spectrum of industries. And I believe all of you here will continue this practice of representing this great institution as you work every day to leave the field of occupational therapy better than how you found it. In order to live up to your full potential, you'll need to strive to master the management of these 5 relationships. First, your relationship with God. Deuteronomy 31:8 reads, quote, "The Lord himself goes before you and will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you," quote. God will be your most reliable source of energy, strength, protection, because his abundance of power never runs out. All that he requires from you is to remain faithful in his goodness. This was made clear to me during my time working as an addiction counselor at a transitional living facility. I had a patient, and I'll refer to him as Mr. Johnson in order to keep his confidentiality. Mr. Johnson was on the brink of celebrating 90 days of sobriety. Now, in the field of addiction, this is a big deal because accomplishing 90 days represents the transition from active addiction to partial remission. It just so happened that Mr. Johnson's 90th day of sobriety also landed on his birthday. As the nighttime counselor, I was assigned to checking in patients when they reported back to the facility after work or any other off-campus visits. This process usually entailed meeting with the client, administering a drug screening, collecting a summary of places and the people they had visited while off campus. I remember the clock striking 8 p.m. and Mr. Johnson hadn't arrived yet. This was unusual for Mr. Johnson. He was always on time. And this being his 90-day mark, he surely was not going to miss the upcoming evenings in a meeting because he had talked about earning his 90-day chip for weeks. Mr. Johnson never reported back that evening. And as I reflect on the story, I was upset. I was mad because I remember being in the car on the way home and feeling as if he just stood us up for no reason. The counselors and I, we had gone in and we had purchased a cake to celebrate not only his milestone, but his birthday. The next day, I walked back into the facility and I remember a face meeting me. And there was a gloom look on my director's face. Her eyes were only dry enough, long enough to break the news that Mr. Johnson overdosed the night before. He didn't make it. Just like that, despite all the hard work I did to help Mr. Johnson, I was not able to save him. Without no warning, no signs, he was dead. At this time, I was too angry to be sad. I was angry at Mr. Johnson for relapsing. I was angry at the facility for allowing him to leave, but mostly I was angry at myself. Despite the CDC reporting that in just as recently as last year, 100,306 drug overdose deaths occurred in the United States. Mr. Johnson's death still made me question if I should leave the counseling field altogether because I felt like the ultimate failure. My colleagues and supervisors attempted to reassure me that the only person that could have saved Mr. Johnson was Mr. Johnson. Logically, I knew this to be true, but in my spirit, I was not able to ignore the questions that kept me up at night. Questions like, how did I miss the signs? What could have I done differently? Why didn't he just ask me for help? Despite attending counseling to process this event, I was only able to find true peace through my relationship with God. From continuous prayers and reflection, God empowered me with the strength to forgive Mr. Johnson and to forgive myself. You will lose patience while doing this work. And when this happens, your relationship with God will need to be strong. God will provide you with peace to heal and the strength to keep going. God will be there to make meaning out of the tears that roll down your cheek and quiet the voices of self-doubt that prevent you from sleep. Keep God first because his resolve is at an endless supply. And in this line of work, you will need every bit of strength he has to offer. The second most important relationship you must manage is the relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is a product of how you see yourself, how you talk to yourself, and how you take care of yourself. You are the most valuable tool you bring into this work. Your confidence to provide the highest quality of care will be a direct result of your work ethic. So remember, you're not graduating from learning, but instead transitioning into becoming life learners. Continue to learn from your supervisors, your colleagues, your books, your patients, and most importantly, your experiences. As you work to remain becoming a life learner, also practice becoming a life listener. Every day, take time to slow down and listen to your thoughts. Listen to God speak to you through prayer and meditation. And most importantly, listen to your body. When I was supervising an associate clinician who was working 45-hour weeks while also completing his doctoral studies and raising a family, I asked him one day during our supervision meeting, how do you manage to keep everything in your life together? And he replied, Chris, I listen to my body. When I need to sleep, sleep. When I need to eat, I eat. And when I need to work, I work. Simple enough, right? Unfortunately, this advice is clearly not followed as just this year alone, 1.7 million healthcare workers have quit. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that 47% of healthcare workers plan to leave their current roles by 2025. I don't share these numbers to scare you, but to highlight the importance of taking care of yourself. And that can only happen as you continue to strengthen the personal relationship you have with you. The third relationship you must manage is the relationship with your spouse. If you're currently married or dating, you can easily attest to the fact that when your intimate partner relationship isn't right, it has a tendency to ripple across all areas of your life. For those that are single, this message is even more valuable because the person you choose to marry or have kids with has the potential to be one of the most impactful people in your life. This can be for better or for worse, depending on how you choose to manage the relationship. This was evident for one professional I know who unexpectedly got his girlfriend pregnant while they were both in college pursuing a degree within the healthcare field. Now, at the time, he was contemplating dropping out and quitting on his dream of becoming a mental health professional. But his girlfriend told him, no, don't quit school. Your future clients need you. She instilled in him a fire to keep going. And the two of them formed an unbreakable bond that would lead them to owning and operating two successful businesses. One that has provided substance abuse counseling and mental health services for more than 20,000 consumers living in North and South Carolina since 2011. That young man is me. And I thank my wife every day for her unwavering love and support, because without her, I would not be all I can be for my clients, my staff, and my community. The fourth relationship you must manage is the relationship with your coworkers. People you work with do not have to be your friends. You don't even need to like them. But to best serve your clients, you do need to learn how to manage good working relationships with other professionals. The American Occupational Therapy Association reported in 2017 that 27% of all OTs work in hospital settings, followed by 20% working in schools, 19% delivering services across long-term care facilities and nursing homes. So, based on these numbers, 2/3 of you here in front of me will be working alongside doctors, nurses, teachers, and administrators throughout your career. And how you manage these relationships will have a direct impact on the level of care your clients receive. Andrew Carnegie said, quote, "Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results." Quote, your clients will be common people seeking uncommon results. As they work with you to gain new skills and regain those skills that were lost, which will provide them the ability to live a higher quality of life, you will be responsible for navigating working relationships with a variety of professionals, some who you cheerfully are willing to work with, and others not so much. Despite whom you're paired with a longer professional journey, remember that your clients are the focal point, not your feelings about a particular coworker. The fifth and final relationship you must manage is the relationship with your patients. Based on the complex nature of your work, your patients will be relying on you to help them rebuild physically, mentally, and emotionally. You've obtained training and skills that have equipped you to treat a range of patients that will present several different needs across a multitude of settings. Within one day, depending on your work environment and specialty area, you may start the morning aiding an amputee who lost a limb by way of a workplace accident, and end your day with a client who suffered a traumatic brain injury after getting hit by a drunk driver. Beyond assisting these clients regain motor skills, you'll be helping them put back together the pieces of their minds and hearts that were also shattered, sometimes from no fault of their own. They may call on you directly, but most often indirectly, to be their coach, their cheerleader, their confidant, their teacher, their trainer, and counselor. Because in some cases, you may be all they had in their moment of deep pain and sorrow. How you choose to manage these relationships with your client is a choice that offers its own skill based on how much or little you're willing to commit yourself to this work. During the course of your career, you will teeter-totter back and forth, and this will be expected. At the beginning, while you work to gain experience, the days will be filled with new lessons that you were unable to be taught while wearing the veil of OT student. Now, as a graduate, bursting at the seams to test drive all these new skills you paid upwards of $70,000 to gain, united with a strong desire to help people, you will be battle tested. Navigating the complexities of each client's treatment plan, along with the endless amounts of paperwork, will be overwhelming. The mastery of time management and the delivery of efficient care, all while maintaining a warm spirited connection with your patients, will take time to achieve. Remember, being present with each patient is the most important component of managing the therapist-client relationship. Focus on the immediate task at hand, and this will help you reduce mistakes and notice signs and symptoms that could have easily been missed if you were distracted. While working with your patients, practice cutting everything else off so you can give your patients all of you. It will equally be important to learn how to cut off your patients once your workday is complete. The double Dutch routine of jumping in and out with patients to then jump back into your own life while leaving work at work will be a career battle that is winnable when you take time to manage healthy therapist-patient relationships. As I come to a close, I want you to reflect daily on the management of these 5 relationships: your relationship with God, your relationship with self, your relationship with your intimate partner, your relationship with your coworkers, and your relationship with your patients. Pause for a moment and think about which one of these relationships you need the most help with. After you select your answer, now do your part to gain assistance with managing that relationship by finding a mentor. Do not attempt to manage these relationships alone, because in the words of Oprah Winfrey, a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside of yourself. You will have moments when doubts creep in and you hear thoughts that imply you are not enough, but choose to combat those thoughts with words that validate you can, that validate you will, and that validate you must, because your patients are counting on you. Your journey will be full of twists and turns, highs and lows, in moments when you feel alone. So be kind to yourself. And always remember, as occupational therapists, your patients need your help to live life to its fullest. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I hope this message leaves you feeling valued and inspired.
Thank you, Chris, for your powerful and inspiring speech. And I think we all need to spend some time reflecting on that. And I regret I didn't take notes. So I may be calling you for some answers regarding what did you say about this and this. Next, we're going to have Dr. Bowe come up and speak also.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Christopher Bowe, and I serve Pfeiffer University as Dean of our graduate school. On behalf of all of us here at Pfeiffer, the administration, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends, it truly is my pleasure to welcome you and those who are here with you today to the Snyder Community Room at the Center for Health Sciences at Pfeiffer's newest campus location, a facility conceived, constructed, and maintained because of ongoing partnerships with the people of Albemarle and Stanley County. We welcome you for this celebration of transition of the occupational therapy studies students from formal didactic study to clinical fieldwork education. Transition from a learner of theory and skills in classroom and laboratory settings to that of student clinicians in the field. This afternoon, we gather as a Falcon family to mark this milestone. Not so long ago, even though at times it may have seemed like an eternity, each of you engaged in the inquiry process, worked your way through the application in the OT-CAS, interviewed with program faculty, and waited anxiously for that special letter indicating that you indeed had been selected to begin occupational therapy study at Pfeiffer. That was your first day as a Falcon. Since then, you've engaged in orientation, studied tremendously long hours to ensure that you could maximize your achievement in neuroscience, worked in the beautifully appointed anatomy lab to explore body systems, began some scholarly research, figured out how to write spectacularly specific patient goals and progress notes, developed adaptive and supportive devices for patients to use to make their lives and work more manageable, and learned the requisite skills necessary to work with patients to improve their occupations, those activities they need and want to do. Through all of these experiences, you've grown together as a community. You've come to call Pfeiffer home. I applaud you on your achievements in all of these areas and the myriad others too numerous to mention this afternoon. As the major didactic component of this journey comes to an end for you, know that you've gained the knowledge and professional skills to make you successful in your endeavors in the clinical component of your journey, and in Pfeiffer's mission of preparing students for a lifetime of achievement and scholarship. Be aware, though, that much learning is to come. As learners across the lifetime, it is my hope that you look at these opportunities as Albert Einstein did, by never regarding study as a duty, but rather as the enviable opportunity to learn. Along with the knowledge and skills you possess at this point, and will continue to refine in your clinical work I urge you to spend some time in this period before you begin your client-focused work and in the moments between patients, considering the dispositions and temperaments necessary to truly succeed in the healing professions. Saint Teresa of Calcutta wrote about disease and healing this way: "The greatest disease in the West today is not TB or leprosy. It is being unwanted, unloved, and uncared for." We can cure physical diseases with medicine, but the only cure for loneliness, despair, and hopelessness is love. It is my hope that as student clinicians and later as practicing licensed clinical care providers, that you will, through your example and the ways in which you interact with those you serve, emulate what you have been learning at Pfeiffer in your care of the least, the lost, and the last. This afternoon is indeed a celebration. Pfeiffer University, my colleagues across the college, particularly those in the graduate school, and all of the friends of our institution congratulate you, each of you, on achieving this milestone. You've progressed. You may have stumbled. You've certainly learned and grown. You've persisted. You have succeeded. Because of this didactic phase of the program, you have, as the words of one of the most popular songs from the musical Wicked suggest, changed for the better. In fact, my friends, you have been changed for good. Again, congratulations, student clinicians, on this achievement and this transition to the next phase of your journey. And welcome everyone to this afternoon of celebration.
Thank you, Dr. Bowe, for your poignant statements that summarize this journey so eloquently. Next, we're going to be awarding the Clinical Frontier Bags to each of you. I'm going to ask Professor Pitter and Professor Graham to step forth to assist me with this.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be presenting the clinical frontier bags to each of you this afternoon with Dr. Fain and Professor Graham. So I will be calling you up in alphabetical order. After I say your name, you could proceed this way to receive your bag. So to begin, we have Kaylee Allman and Meredith Applegate. Next, we have Sarah Benson and Grant Burleson. Maddie Cook and Sierra Curl. Kathleen Ellison. Kayla Fant and Carrie Foster. Mackenzie Gibbon, and Jocelyn Hatton. Deandra Holloway and Sierra Hoover. Next, we have Emily Jackson and then Landon Jennings. And then we have Gracie Langford and Michiko Mongbong. Kiana Martin and Alexis Miklovich.
That's called excitement.
All right, we have Deja Norris and Lonnie Page. Curtis Reeder and Rachel Strom. Ashton Thompson and Cassie Williams. Amani Windsor and Morgan Winter. And our final clinical frontier bag will be given to Julia Ray.
Now we're going to have Dr. Davis come up and have you guys to recite the occupational therapy professional oath.
Please stand and join me in reciting the occupational therapy professional oath. From the privilege and rights this fieldwork brings, I hereby pledge to hold my knowledge and trust for the good of those people whom I serve. Therefore, I will endeavor to keep both the professional and the occupational needs of the clients and communities I serve foremost in my thoughts and actions. Deliver occupational therapy services that demonstrate excellence at all levels of care while valuing and honoring diversity and respecting others as equals. Advocate for needed services and the rights of clients, regardless of the constraints I may face. Strive to always act in a manner that is consistent with the philosophical base and values of the profession by upholding the occupational therapy code of ethics, abiding with those in need of care, even in the face of personal risk, and upholding the dignity of all human beings, regardless of their condition, and model and foster leadership and facilitate spiritual, personal, and professional growth for myself, my profession, and others. In keeping with the high ethical and moral standards of Pfeiffer University, I will serve to be committed, lifelong, evidence-based practice with the pursuit of truth and dedication to building a human community of justice, respect, and mutual concern. All right.
We're going to close this ceremony, this special ceremony, with some closing remarks. Welcome to this Clinical Frontier ceremony where we are recognizing your transition to your first level 2 fieldwork. You have been a part of a trailblazing program that has generated many innovative changes for Pfeiffer University and Stanley County, North Carolina. In other words, you've been part of a groundbreaker program, making changes, making differences. The word frontier represents uncharted territory. It could be a remote piece of land or a new field of study. But if someone calls it the frontier, you are challenged to explore it. You are now being challenged to push forward to be the best that you can be and to conquer this new clinical frontier that you are fast approaching. Visualize the future that's getting ready to take place in January. The future is bright. Even though many of you are focused on how are you going to complete your field work? How will you do? How will you survive? Some of you are even struggling with the imposter syndrome. However, I tell you, there are many opportunities out there and they are waiting for you to seize those opportunities. You can overcome this feeling of, am I ready or not? Even Dr. John Osler, the founder of Johns Hopkins Medical School. Now take that in for a moment. He even had the imposter syndrome when he was in med school. He was reflecting on his exams, worried about, was he going to pass? How well was he going to do? And where would he establish his medical practice and how would he build it? And then he went on later to do, create Johns Hopkins Medical School. And then all of the other accomplishments, it would take too long to mention that. So again, you guys are on the brink of a huge future and a huge success. So I'm going to call you to action. Your main call to action is do not focus on what lies dimly at a distance, but rather what lies directly at hand. Be the hot student or the higher order thinker that we have taught you to be, that Pfeiffer OT faculty have taught you to be. This concludes the Clinical Frontier ceremony, and we wish you the best. Remember, dream, believe, and achieve. We can't wait to hear your success stories when you come back for the following semester. Now go to the back and enjoy the refreshments, and congratulations, everyone. Thank you.